one of the things in the display, and this is only half of it, this is what small gallery, and one of the things I wanted is for you or any other visitor to look up, and all the way around the room are all the plays that the Guild has put on since their founding in 1947 up until the present day. And all I really want is for people to look at them and go, whoa, because you just don't realize what a treasure you have with an active theater guild in a town. Now, around on the walls we have the introduction, which shows a couple of actors on a ladder with lots of props, etc., in action. And Rod Carley has written a very interesting introduction called The Play is the Thing, in which, believe it or not, one of the main topics is cockroaches. I couldn't believe it, but that's Rod. And then there are 3 sections, which I call collages, and it's spotlight on different things that are of concern to the Guild over the years, and this is traveling to festivals. So it's festival bound. It shows 2 posters from a Theatre Ontario festival and a Northern Ontario Quanta festival, and some winners. This here is the very first play, full-length play that we put on, The Great Dark, in 1960. That was in Quanta. And here is one of our prime actresses, no longer with us, unfortunately, Joyce Johnson. So, continuing along, one of the treasures we discovered is that Arndt von Holzendorf, a prime set designer at the Theatre Guild, had kept all of his drawings that he made. And at first we were going to put them up on the wall, and then we discovered, whoa, this deserves a slideshow of his own. So people are welcome to sit and watch the show. Just to make sure that people read everything, we challenge you to participate in Drama Word Power Quiz. You know, every profession has its own jargon, its own words. And this one challenges people to identify 10 different words that are used in drama. And there's a prize. And the people that get the right answers are going to a draw for tickets to the next Theatre Guild play. Oh. Over here is a section called Keepsake. And a keepsake is something one holds on to because of the memories it brings to mind. And I wanted to help explain why people join the Theatre Guild and remain for 25 years. Acting, and they not only acted, but people, high-powered people like Bob Clout, Joyce, as I mentioned, Marty Southcott. You'll look on programs and they'll be painting the set, right? They participate in any way they can. Well, all of these have beside them why somebody kept that poster for 25 years. You know, I'm the throw out thing person, but these people are not. One of the funniest is, what are we doing with the hockey jersey? Well, believe it or not, there was a play in which Henry V, Shakespeare, Henry V, was portrayed as a hockey game between the Leafs, the English, and the Habs, the French, because Henry V was about the battle between England and France. So here they were skating on an artificial rink, on a stage, hockey, all hockey paraphernalia, but speaking in Shakespearean English. I never saw it, I wish I had. So all of these are from individuals. They've loaned them to us, and they've said, yes, we can have them until the exhibit is over at the middle of May. Alrighty, here's another one of our building an audience, is a constant battle. At first, we used to be competing against movies. Now, movies and us are competing against online streaming or whatever. But you know, there's nothing like live performance. It really is very involving. It's a difference between listening at home to music and going to a concert surrounded by people and the energy that's built up. And a constant battle is finding a home. Where do you find to perform? Well, we used to be at West Ferris. It's now closed. We've performed at Whitfield. It's now closed. But here are 5 of our usual performance areas, and look at all the dots on the map. That's where we've performed. It includes the Golden Dragon down on Lakeshore. Remember that? Mm-hmm. One of our most prolific actors was Rick Blair. He was a teacher and drama coach at Chippewa for years. And here's Rick, and his latest performance was just this fall in Einstein, one-person play. And it shows Rick, don't you love the hair? It used to be he'd have to fake the hair. Now his own hair. But these are some of the roles he was in, and scrapbooks that his wife collected, and so on. But it's just to show what one actor with a passion can achieve. Okay, pantomimes. Pantomimes, this is British pantomime, and they're really odd ducks. In fact, the very first one was called Mother Goose, way back in 1964. I love the fact that they had the usual man portraying the grand dame, but they actually had somebody as a goose. But they're very popular because they include everybody. If you can juggle, if you can dance, if you can do anything, they'll make a part for you. And they have all kinds of things they write in. There was one where Men in Black just came out. And it was here in the Snow Queen, and 2 men in black were wandering around on the stage, and they eventually kidnapped the mayor who was sitting in the audience. Here we can see costumes, which was one of my favorite areas. We've borrowed some costumes from the Guild storeroom and showed some individual costumes in performance. This one is very interesting. Let me read it. The black costume on display, it was worn by Joanne Bernier in arsenic and old lace. And the character, as you can tell from the costume, was rich, elderly, old-fashioned, and a murderer.
You'd make a good murderer.
Okay, here's my favorite area. This big showcase shows you all the technical aspects go into putting on a play. Right here is makeup. And makeup includes, of course, hair. And we show some individual ideas of good makeup, from a very cheery lady and to an old lady. And in the center, this is Waiting for Godot, which is a play about alienation, I guess, but you see how they've emphasized the muscle and bone structure of his face, so the audience way at the back can still read what he's feeling. Okay, moving around this way, this is not only set design, but it's also construction. And it was written by Arndt, the fellow whose pictures are there, and he's responsible for the model and for the picture, which is like is on the slideshow. But besides that, we have from Tom Jones a whole sort of development of how do you develop a set, from the individual early sketches, and then down here is with proper measurements, all the things are needed for the set, and so on. One of the most important people in any play is the director. And Michelle Saint-Onge, one of our favorite directors, wrote the description of what a director does. And she one of her favorite plays was The Snow Queen, which was a pantomime. And you can see the size of the cast and the crew that she had to deal with. It runs for pages. Props is kind of important because not only do they add to the character, but a prop can be the star of the show itself. If it's a gun, or if it's a treasure, as this box of treasure is. And these objects were actual props that were used in guild plays, but nobody can remember which play they were in. They've probably been used 3 or 4 times. The photographs show how props are useful. Here is one, a play in rehearsal. They don't have the correct chairs or anything else, but we have a usable telephone, we've got magazines, we've got combs by the hairdresser, etc., because the props have to be there.
And a Chucky doll.
A Chucky doll. I must admit, I wouldn't like to give that to my kid. Alrighty. Here's a familiar face, and this is Pam Handley, who was a backstage star as well. And she, the Dark of the Moon, and she was the stage manager. And the stage manager has to be a person of all different talents, because they have to run the show. The director decides who's moving where, etc., but once the show starts, the stage manager's in charge. And this shows, for example, technical cues for just 1-2 pages of script. It doesn't include any words, just all the things, and these are the clues. L indicates there's a lighting cue, M is for music, S is for sound effects, etc. This one is also interesting. Remember I showed you the size of the cast? This one is one play. The people are, it's called The Hand That Cradles the Rock. It's a Canadian comedy. The 4 people seated are the cast, the people on stage. Everybody else is the crew that makes the play run. And last is lighting. These pictures shows you several effective lighting. This one, interestingly enough, called Apple, is a story of a man who has an affair outside of marriage, and his wife is ill. Can you see the man considering the mistress, and in back in blue, the wife?
Oh, yeah.
The lighting shows the whole plot right there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an actual theater light. It's one of the smaller ones, very old. It's no longer useful. It's called a Fresnel. And it's spelled the French way, Fresnel. And that is from the lens. Can you see the lens is kind of a fractured lens? Mm-hmm. That is what makes the light come out in a single stream. It was actually invented way back in the early 1800s by a Frenchman called Fresnel for lighthouses.
Oh, that's where I recognize it. Yeah.
Anyhow, and this challenges you to identify all of what these knobs do, right? And it shows you a picture with all of them identified and what they do. So technically, you could probably do lighting. Anyhow, you ready to try that quiz?
I think I am. I'm hopeful.
All right. We hope more people will be encouraged to join us.
Yeah. Now, what is your theater background? What is your favorite part?
I was a reluctant director. I always worked in high school. Mm-hmm. So I was a high school drama teacher and a drama club, and I directed many plays. I was never on stage. From university on, I did all of the visual things connected with a play. I put together costumes, I did lighting, I put on makeup, I designed sets, all that kind of thing, because that's my love is visual things.
Were you in plays in elementary school or high school?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope.
It just started
Not
right
a
after
thing.
university, eh?
University. I went to Laurier, and I got talked into helping with costumes for a play, a musical, and I was within commuting distance of home in Hamilton, so I went home, borrowed costumes like crazy, and when my mom and my sister came to see the play, they were in hysterics because they kept seeing their pants walk across the stage, or "that's my shirt," which is a common thing because there's a case of an older member telling a story about her husband coming home from a sales trip and going directly to the theater, and halfway down the aisle he looked up, saw the set ready to start, and said, "My God, that's my living room!" Right out loud for everybody to hear.
That's cool.
And this part of it is called Stop and Look, and which is why a drama poster is different than just a picture. Because, of course, it's supposed to make people stop and read and gather information.